Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to Mongolia. We are opening about Freedom Online Coalition 5th conference in Ulaanbaatar, Mongolia. The conference is attended by about 240 participants from 60 countries. Now we are opening the ceremony, and I would like to invite His Excellency Surim Lumidek, Foreign Minister of Mongolia, to give the opening speech.
Mr. President, Excellencies, distinguished delegates, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for accepting my invitation coming to the 5th conference of the Freedom Online Coalition. Welcome to Mongolia. At the outset, I would like to express my sincere gratitude to previous Chairman Estonia for excellent leadership of the coalition. Tallinn Agenda for Freedom Online encourages us to reaffirm our strong commitment to respect and protect the human rights and the fundamental freedoms proclaimed in the Universal Declaration of Human Rights and endorsed the Freedom Online Coalition's founding document, the Hague Declaration. As a founding member of the coalition, we have a great honor to assume the chairmanship. During our chairmanship, the coalition has expanded by 3 new members: Lithuania, Australia, and Norway. We strongly believe that new members of the coalition will contribute greatly to protecting and promoting online freedom based on our shared commitment to respect human rights and fundamental freedoms. I'm also pleased to note that several other countries have been showing interest to join the coalition. Mongolia is one of the open societies in Asia in terms of online freedom and internet freedom. We are indeed proud that the participants of the ULAANBAATAR conference are representing a broad section of member states, private sector companies, civil society organizations, as well as manufacturers, service providers, regulators, and customs, all stakeholders of ITC industry. Democracy is not defined only by free and fair elections, but also by comprehensive notions of transparency, accountability, the rule of law, freedom of press, good governance with strong public involvement, and sustainable development. All of these values require constant care and nourishment to protect them and to ensure their growth and spread. The need to promote a greater respect for human rights and citizens' liberties has become an even more pressing issue in light of recent world events. We pause to celebrate the 25th anniversary of the first free and fair election, which led to Mongolia's democratic constitution and the phenomenal political and economic reforms Mongolians chosen to undertake and guarantee them the human rights and freedom. Today and tomorrow, we will discuss overriding topics on internet policy making, the best practices for promoting online freedom and internet trends in Asia. I would like to give us an ample opportunity to exchange views and experiences, to share lessons learned and best practices accomplished in promoting the universal human rights values. Wish all you a pleasant stay in Mongolia. Look forward to the successful outcome of the conference. Thank you for the attention.
I would like to invite His Excellency Sakhiar Budorj.
За энэ хүрэлцэн ирсэн эрхэм хүмүүсийн энэ өглөөний түмэн амгаланг айлтгая. Онлайн эрхчлэл вебсайтын сайд нарын 5 дугаар баатарлыг улсынхаа нийслэл бид хүлээн авч байгаадаа их баяртай байна. Ингээд та бүхнийг их түүхт эрхчлөлөөт Монгол оронд тавтаа морилохыг хүсэн өрөөё. Now I have to switch to English. And I'm really delighted to host you in my country, in our capital city, and to see you. And I think this is the most exciting conference I ever opened. This topic, online freedom, is very timely topic, and my country is really proud to be one of the founding members of this Freedom Online Coalition. We know that Freedom Online Coalition is well positioned, intergovernmental and multi-stakeholder institution. I think this is really timely established institution. And now I would like to recall to some numbers. I think numbers are very, very much revealing. In Mongolia, we have 3 million people, 2 million internet users. In Mongolia, we have more than 34,000 kilometers of fiber optic lines. In my country, we have 5 million, roughly 5 million mobile users, mobile subscribers, and 1.8 million of them are smartphone users. I know from my early childhood, and we all know that in order to make phone call in my country, in the countryside, we had to go to the postal office. In order to make ordinary phone call to friends, to relatives, we have to go sometimes to our neighbor who had a phone set. In order to make phone call outside of Mongolia, we had to go prior 24 hours or 48 hours because people are waiting for that call, and we had to go to the central post office. That was just 25 years ago. That was just 20 years ago. And I born in a herdsman family, and I raised in a herdsman family, and I know that if in a family we got something, problem, health issues, in order to reach the hospital, in order to go to the doctor, it took almost 24 hours riding the horse and taking the extra horse bringing that doctor. You know, now it costs only one phone call. If you got high fever, you can call to the doctor, local doctor, and ask what kind of treatment needed to that person. World is completely changed. Just as I'm speaking here now, within the 1 minute in the internet, already there was 500,000 wiki page views, 47 million instant messages already sent, 12 million ads already being displayed, 400,000 tweets already posted, 4.3 million pieces of content at Facebook already shared, 8 million messages already sent on Facebook. Amazon sold those books or other items worth of the $160 million just within 1 minute. 4 million searches had been made at Google, and 138,000 hours of video watched on YouTube. This is really amazing, just within 1 internet minute. I think we all know that online freedom has no owner. Online freedom is global common. This is global commodity. Online freedom is not came from the outer space. It has grown within us by the human ingenuity. And we have to enjoy this valuable commodity all over the world. Internet does not come to this world by accident, but it came by design as a global structure. I think human intelligence can handle the challenges we are facing in terms of the online freedom. And I think we need to not forget, we have to all the time, we shall always strive for more openness, more innovation, and more collaboration. I know there are so-called legal issues, security challenges in terms of the cyber data, cyber media, cyber communications. I think we see, even in the most open countries, we thought most open governments, they sometimes became paranoid with the online freedom. I feel there is some kind of the global warming going on online space, some kind of contamination from the governments, from the powerful ones, from those who make decisions. And online freedom is an essential part, inseparable part of the human rights. And we have to understand this. National security should never be used as an excuse for politically motivated restrictions whose real purpose is to stifle dissent and restrict freedom of expression. Even in my country, from time to time, we see some instances. Some ministers have been kind of the so-called defamation, libel, criticized. Even we had some court cases there. But we have to pursue, we have to be persistent with this openness of the internet, of this global common, of this global goods, and we have to use it. In terms of the government, I think we have to think about the human rights when we handle the online freedom. We have to keep up with the rule of law, and we have to uphold for the principles of transparency. Those three things are really essential. As individuals, as internet users, I think people should take responsibility for their steps. Second, moral imperative is essential. What you post on internet, in Facebook, in Twitter, your child will see it. Your child will share it. And third one, I think, creative collaboration is really important. If there is a problem, I think through that creative collaboration you can solve that problem, not from the government. True strength in a freedom, true strength in a democracy come from the people, not come from the government. Way of our development in Mongolia, I see that we have to give more power to the people, more opportunities to the people, more voices to the people. When people have that more freedom, they tend to become more creative. When they become more creative, they tend to become more responsible. Because of the so many information, today people become more knowledgeable. When people become more knowledgeable, they become more demanding. Because of that, in any government, you have to be more responsive to your people. And you have to be consistent with the rule of law. You have to invest in human capital. This is the government challenge, and we have to understand that. I think democracy is a learning process. How can you learn if you shut down the freedom of expression? How can you learn as officials if you shut down those criticism, fair, sometimes unfounded criticism from the people? I think people have a right for suspicion for the president. People have a right to suspect. People have a right to express that. I think beauty of our society, we give that opportunity to our people. We try to give that, and we try to protect that our people's right. I see there are real challenges. I would like to call 3 of them. Today, because of the mobile, because of this social media, it became really easy to organize social movements, but it became really hard to win. I was one of the organizers in a cold winter, the demonstrations 26 years ago in this square, in this city. All those social movements, democratic movements during the 1990s, I think most of them succeeded. But the post-2000 social movements, so-called Arab Spring and others, I see most of those countries are kind of failed. One thing is totally changed. When we organized that movement in Mongolia, we had only one TV station, only one radio station, 6 newspapers. Governing that country, having that grip on those media entities, that was very different. Now governing the country, now organizing the social movement, handling the social life is totally different than 10 years ago, than 20 years ago. I think in the Middle East, in those countries, in post-2000 social movements, they just changed the ruling class. They just changed a bunch of those people and came through that demonstrations, bunch of those people came to the power. But they did not change their society, but they did not understand their society, their people already changed. That government institutions, which we used for 1,000 years, which we used for centuries, those are today not going to meet the requirements of people who are living in those countries. And because of that, I mean that government is like hardware. Hardware does not change, did not change, but software already changed. You cannot solve today's problem by yesterday's tool. I hope you will address this issue. And other challenge, I clearly see that. I would like to show you when the first mobile phone was introduced. This looked like this. You see this? And this is the typical one we use today. We see that as functions increase in a phones, those phones tend to become much smaller, smarter, and user-friendly. As functions increase in a government, governments tend to become much bigger, more sluggish, and more distant. How we can solve this problem? And because of that, I introduced a year ago in this country a smart government initiative. And I see those information technology, those technological advancements as a partner for development. I think online freedom online, those information technology really became the essential elements of the human development, social development, economic development. You have to understand that. You cannot deny from your people those rights, claiming for greater development. That's impossible. Virtual freedom is an inseparable part, as I said, the inseparable part of the human rights. Third issue, I think, I already mentioned that. People became more knowledgeable, became more demanding. Because of that, governments should be more open. Countries should be more open. And you have to count on that. And I think countries can benefit from the online freedom. Online freedom, information technology is our partner. Governments should not see information technology as a problem for government, online freedom. They should see that partners for development, partners for solving those problems we face in this country. And I usually say to our people, to our officials, don't rush to take drastic actions restricting online freedom. Don't try to do that. Like a social life, like a life, I think online freedom has its own healing system inside. Don't try to bring harmful laws or decisions. Don't try to impede all those steps which are taken in your society. I think if there is one thing bad, I think that will be healed by the others. And because of that, healing system is already there through the innovation, through the creative collaboration of the people. And because of that, governments should not rush to take some kind of drastic actions. And we have to accept a reality today. We have to live with this tool, and we have to advance with this tool. And we have to learn to live in this environment. And I really would like to call all those national leaders, government leaders, to accept this reality and to live with it and to support it. And I'm really looking forward from this conference great outcome. And in United Nations, all we know that there is going to be a post-2015 agenda. I think there should be some initiative, some good clause related with the protecting the online freedom. And Mongolia should be champion, initiating those issues. And I think there should be a kind of global act on virtual freedom. And we have to begin to draft those acts. And this, because this is inseparable part of the human rights and human life and human society advancement. Thank you very much.
Here we are opening now first session, and I have 9 speakers. We are a little bit late of time, and I would like to invite our speakers one by one. And one speaker has about approximately 5 minutes. First speaker is His Excellency Mart Lantemay, Under-Secretary for Europe and Transatlantic Relations, Estonia, Ministry of Foreign Affairs. Welcome.
Mr. President, Mr. Foreign Minister, thank you for your kind words about our conference last year. Excellencies, dear colleagues, ladies and gentlemen, and dear friends from recently joined member states, Lithuania, Australia, and Norway, welcome to you all to the Freedom Online Coalition. Last year in Tallinn, where, as you know, the internet feels at home, Mongolia invited us all to this Freedom Online conference, and I am very pleased that I could accept the invitation and return to one of my absolute favorite places, UB. Having the honor of being the first guest to speak, I wish the conference great success. This is the first Freedom Online conference in the Asia-Pacific region, where there are the most internet users in the world and probably also the most potential users. Last year in Tallinn, we heard that Genghis Khan used a system like the internet to move information in his empire. He never visited Tallinn, but if he had, he would have found a kind of physical internet there that many of you have probably seen. Those of you who have been there might have noticed that the streets of the old town seem to have a completely random pattern. Some experts believe the layout is over 1,000 years old, older than Genghis Khan, and helps to find the optimal path from one place to another. And if that path is blocked, there is always another good alternative. I did some random checks using navigation programs, and it seems to be true because the algorithm of these programs tend to give 3 different but approximately equal routes from any point to any other point. Both the internet and streets are forms of infrastructure, and there are many similarities. In Estonia, we know this, and so our e-government is located on what we call the X road, and we are now extending that across the water to Finland. Now, streets are normally free for everybody to use as they wish if they follow certain rules. If you have to get somewhere or go somewhere, you take the street. It should be the same for the internet, but we still have to get used to this idea. Last year in Tallinn, we took an important step forward and confirmed the principles of a free and open internet by adopting the Tallinn Agenda for Freedom Online, a true multi-stakeholder document prepared in very close cooperation of governments, civil society, private sector, and academia from all over the world. It makes concrete suggestions on how to protect and develop free expression, association, assembly, and privacy online. Of these, the first 3 are covered well by existing rules. Privacy, on the other hand, privacy as a delicate issue requires special attention of all stakeholders. It is inseparably linked to internet security, and it is worth noting that the United Nations Human Rights Council has decided to pay special attention to privacy. Other speakers will report on progress on implementing the Tallinn Agenda in the past year. On the whole, we are doing well, and I would like to concentrate on the main challenges ahead, in addition to privacy. The challenges and tasks ahead of us are still huge. To prove it, let me, instead of saying the glass is half full, say it is half empty. Then, very roughly speaking, less than 1/4 of the world's population has completely free access to the internet. About another 1/4 uses the internet, but they have encountered various restrictive measures. Blocking of politically or socially sensitive content increased last year. Half the world's people, in other words, still are not able to use the internet. Despite the almost universal access to the internet that we all believe exists almost everywhere, the numbers indicate that it is still much easier to find a usable road than to get online. But despite that, let us not have any fear of the challenges. In the 2 decades that we have been able to use the internet, we have achieved so much that we should be optimistic. After all, Estonia, just like Mongolia, has grown up together with the internet. The World Wide Web was opened to the public 3 days after Estonia regained its independence in 1991, when Mongolia was in its 2nd year of today's democracy. Throughout the past 1/4 century, Estonia has constantly looked for better and smarter ways to make the best out of the possibilities offered by the internet. We have our success stories and best practices, which we are more than happy to share with everybody interested to study them. But it is important not to rest on your laurels and to become oversatisfied with yourself, believing that we have achieved everything there is to achieve. Technology keeps developing together with ever-changing challenges. Certainly, we are more efficient in tackling them when we have the internet at our disposal, but it is possible only when the internet is free. Estonia remains committed to advance internet freedom and continues contributing and working closely with our partners in the Freedom Online Coalition. So, this year in Ulaanbaatar, let us join our forces in keeping to keep the internet free, so we can say to everyone, next year, everywhere. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Undersecretary. Next speaker will be Ambassador Dr. Norbert Riedel, Commissioner for International Cyber Policy, Federal Foreign Office of Germany.
Mr. President, Mr. Foreign Minister, Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, I would like to thank the Mongolian government for hosting this year's Freedom Online Coalition Conference here in Ulaanbaatar. You are great hosts, and we all feel warmly received. Thank you very much. Ladies and gentlemen, Germany will stay a strong supporter of the Freedom Online Coalition. A stable, secure, open and free internet offers great opportunities for economic growth and development, for good governance and democracy, as well as for social exchange between people around the world. At the same time, it presents us with new threats. Numerous states are pursuing military cyber capabilities, which might lead to an atmosphere of mutual distrust and conflict. Private actors have shown great skill in abusing the net for criminal purposes. And terrorists have been using the internet for their means. But I'm convinced that the opportunities the internet presents outweigh the threats. Therefore, we need basic rules and principles under international law to define a common order. Established international law applies to state use of information and communication technologies. Ladies and gentlemen, Germany focuses on 3 areas of engagement. Firstly, we believe that individuals enjoy the same universal human rights online as offline. This includes the freedom of expression, the freedom of assembly and association, and the right to privacy. Germany and Brazil were at the forefront of a group of like-minded states that worked hard for the adoption of a United Nations Human Rights Council resolution that created a mandate for a special rapporteur on the right to privacy. In addition, a draft resolution based on a German-Brazilian initiative on the right to privacy in the digital age found unanimous consensus in the last 2 years in the UN General Assembly. Germany has installed a national roundtable human rights. Within this forum, we constantly assess in a multi-stakeholder format how human rights can be better assured online. Secondly, we want to foster cybersecurity. We need a common understanding of responsible state behavior in cyberspace. To this end, Germany is working together with other countries within the framework of the UN Group of Governmental Experts. I am looking forward to their report to the UN Secretary General this June. And thirdly, we are committed to furthering confidence and trust. Mutual confidence and trust at the global and regional levels are of utmost importance in the interest of international stability. This is why Germany supports cyber confidence building measures. OSCE participating states agreed a first set of such measures in 2013, the first time ever such steps were taken by any organization anywhere in the world. We hope to take this further during Germany's OSCE chairmanship in 2016. Ladies and gentlemen, Germany is dedicated to promoting and protecting a stable, secure, open and free internet in which freedom and human rights are guaranteed. We need to provide security without giving up on our freedom. Restrictions on human rights need to be well thought through and be thoroughly debated in a transparent and open political discourse, nationally and internationally, which involves civil society. Being part of the Freedom Online Coalition helps us to shape that discourse and to establish the rules and principles needed to define a common order. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Ambassador. The next speaker is Mr. Kees van Baar, Human Rights Ambassador, Netherlands, Minister of Foreign Affairs.
Mr. President, Mr. Foreign Minister, dear colleagues, ladies and gentlemen, first of all, I would like to thank the Mongolian government for organizing this event. And I must say, I think we can say Mongolia is a beacon of freedom online in this region. And I was impressed by the by the figures presented by His Excellency the President, and it shows that Mongolia is very progressive. And I can even say it is so progressive, it is even ahead of time, and especially internet time, as I noticed when I checked my smartphone yesterday, as such. I'm also proud that we have here, all the members of the Freedom Online Coalition together. And, of course, a warm welcome to the new members, of Australia, Norway, and Lithuania. In 1996, when the internet was still young, it was John Perry Barlow, a poet, cyber libertarian, and founder of the Electronic Frontier Foundation, penned an essay denouncing governments of the industrial world, as he said, those wary giants of flesh and steel. Barlow presented himself as a citizen of cyberspace, he said, the new home of mind, and asked those governments to leave him and his fellow citizens alone. In his view, governments could claim no sovereignty online. So here we are. It was almost 20 years ago now, but even then, Barlow was raising some acute issues that we are still dealing with today. Over the past few years, we've seen that states do, in fact, seek to exercise control over cyberspace. And we've seen battles being fought over the values of freedom, security, and power on the virgin soil of the internet. But statist actors are not the only threat to a free and secure internet. Cyber threats are evolving at a fast pace, and the actors are criminals, rogue political groups, and even foreign states, and also people motivated by money. We've seen so-called hacktivism and destabilization, cyber espionage, and sabotage. As cybersecurity becomes a critical issue on the international agenda, there's a growing need for an informed debate on the relationship between governance, security, and fundamental rights and freedom online, involving all stakeholders. This is what the Netherlands stands for on its own and together with the Freedom Online Coalition, which we took the initiative 4 years ago. The Netherlands wants to develop a forward-looking agenda to promote a free, open, and secure cyberspace, in which the internet is treated as a global resource, a concern for us all. For us, this implies that all stakeholders should participate in cybersecurity policy making, and human rights should be at the center of cybersecurity policy. It also requires that freedom and security are treated as complementary. Without privacy, there can be no security. And where security is necessary to protect us as an individual and as society, it should always be accomplished within the rule of law, not by law. To build a common vision on internet governance that incorporates these values, we will need to invest in long-term efforts and be creative through new initiatives and coalitions. The Netherlands incorporated this vision in the Global Conference on Cybersecurity, on Cyberspace, that we recently hosted in the following ways. First, we added the theme freedom and privacy to the conference agenda. Second, we invited around 600 civil society participants from all parts of the world. And third, to enable the effective participation of a group of civil society participants, we organized a training program on the main topics on the conference agenda, as well as the broader cybersecurity debates. The Freedom Online Coalition is another valuable avenue to build new initiatives and coalitions. The Netherlands is proud to co-chair the Freedom Online Coalition's working group, an internet free and secure, which spearheaded its work over the last year. Through its activities, this working group seeks to bring a human rights framing to ongoing debates on cybersecurity and aims to develop, through multi-stakeholder dialogue, meaningful outputs that feed into existing processes. The working group is excited to give, say, an update of the work during this conference and to present the results in the working group's open session later today. For now, I would like to thank the co-chair, Ron Dybert, and all the members of the working group for all the time and relentless effort they have invested. The Netherlands has experienced this as a cooperation as extremely valuable and inspirational. Freedom online is something we must continue to fight for. It's no surprise that after the optimism and great expectations of the 90s, we are now learning to deal with the tricky part. Yet I'm confident, through our discussions, we will succeed to develop a common vision on internet governance that incorporates our common values and build new and long-lasting initiatives and coalition. And I think, say, as members of this coalition, we are obliged to fight for this freedom. And once part of the coalition doesn't mean that we can sit and just discuss and we don't have obligations. I think we can hold each other to account and we can learn from each other. And especially when it comes, for example, to legislation, don't just copy-paste legislation from your neighbor, which language you understand. But you can find support from other members of the coalition, just to have a debate on legislation and how to draft, say, a legislation which is, say, still protect the freedom of internet. I invite you to take part in these discussions to see if we can move forward towards convergence of opinions and the way forward with cyberspace, because the internet is a concern of us all. Thank you.
Thank you, Ambassador. Next speaker is Thomas Heinosky, Austrian Ambassador to the United Nations in Geneva.
Mr. President, Ministers, Excellencies, dear friends from civil society, ladies and gentlemen, at a time when we see further restrictions on freedom online in a number of countries, the holding of this major conference here in Ulaanbaatar is of high significance. Austria particularly appreciates that for the first time the conference venue is in Asia, reflecting the truly global character of our coalition. Mongolia, our chair, scores high in internet-related issues. For instance, in the 2015 Network Readiness Index, Mongolia figures ahead of China. Mongolia has become a trailblazer for other Asian countries, raising their interest for freedom online. And we have seen the commitment of Mongolia in the impressive speech by President Elbek Dorsh and the experiences in the great hospitality that you provide to us all. Let me welcome our new members, Australia, Lithuania, and Norway, as well as further outreach, which will lead to continued growth of our coalition and our concern for people who want to freely express their opinion using digital technology. Alas, in many countries, bloggers, tweeters, or simply internet users who want to access unfettered web pages face censorship, oppression, violence, and jail. Often their function as citizen journalists raises the enmity of suppressive regimes. Austria, therefore, is leading an initiative on safety of journalists in various multilateral organizations, in particular the UN Human Rights Council. For the growing number of journalists killed, threatened, or arbitrarily detained is totally unacceptable. The last years were among the deadliest on record for journalists, and that includes certainly also bloggers. And at least 26 journalists have already been killed since the start of this year, so in just 4 months. What is most worrying is that 90% of reported cases remain unresolved. Perpetrators act with impunity. Every act of violence committed against a journalist that goes uninvested, unpunished, is an open invitation for further violence. It is our strong belief that the safety of journalists is fundamental for the universal, inalienable right to freedom of expression offline and online. A precondition for full enjoyment of the freedom of opinion and free speech, also online, is the right to privacy. Over the last years, it has become very clear that the rapid pace of technological development does not only promote individuals' freedom of expression and democratic participation, but it also enhances the capacity of governments, companies, and individuals to undertake activities which infringe or may violate other individuals' right to privacy. In light of this development, the pressing need to provide continuous, systematic, and authoritative guidance on the scope and content of the right to privacy has been recognized. The recent creation by the Human Rights Council of a special rapporteur on the right to privacy, as well as the valuable work of Working Group 3 of this coalition, will respond to this need and pave the way for further substantive deliberations. The Freedom Online Coalition has grown, both in activity and membership. Together we can achieve more. We can coordinate in international organizations and other relevant frameworks to push back attempts to limit freedom online. We can support publicly and materially those who are under pressure by governments that violate their citizens' human rights. And together, we can build a strong international narrative for freedom. So let us do this to the benefit of mankind. Thank you. By Allah.
Thank you, Ambassador. Next speaker would be Mr. Ingrid Mollestad, Director, Human Rights and Democracy, Norway Ministry of Foreign Affairs. Mrs. Ingrid, I'm sorry.
Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, Norway is very pleased and honored to have been accepted as a new member of the Freedom Online Coalition as of March 16 this year. We are indeed very pleased to be here and would like to thank the Mongolian government for its generous hosting of this event. At a time where human rights are facing increasing pressure around the world, at a time where a tweet or a blog, an opinion can put a person in jail or at great personal risk, where journalism is a high-risk profession, the Coalition has a vital role to play in promoting human rights and the value of democracy. The Freedom Online Coalition is an arena for us to share information, deepen our knowledge, coordinate diplomatic efforts, and work together, all stakeholders, to voice our concerns over the increased pressure on human rights in the digital domain and to increase our freedom. The Internet is giving us great and unprecedented opportunities for positive change, for development, for promoting human rights, and for holding governments accountable for their actions. However, it is also used for purposes of control and repression of human rights defenders and civil society. We need freedom and we need security. Both are legitimate concerns. Surveillance, however, must be conducted only in a proper and proportionate manner within existing legal boundaries. Too often, the security argument is used as a pretext for restriction and control that is unacceptable within the rule of law. And we are pleased that there is a new mandate under the Human Rights Council on privacy that will look further into these important matters. We must ensure that cyberspace continues to be a space for innovation and social and economic development, and that it is based on the principles of universal access, transparent and broad participation. The Norwegian government intends to intensify its engagement on the issue of the freedom of expression, internet freedom and human rights online, as has been stated in a recent white paper of the Norwegian government to our parliament just this December. Norway is opposed to a development that will give states a stronger control over the content and the development of the internet. Norway will use its membership of this coalition to continue to promote a free and open internet which is governed by all stakeholders, that respects privacy, freedom of expression and other human rights. We want to continue our support for the safety of media workers online and offline and work against impunity for perpetrators in accordance with the UN Action Plan on the safety of journalists and the issue of impunity. We will also encourage innovative digital solutions in implementing the new UN Sustainable Development Goals, and we will support initiatives that have a particular focus on making digital services available and affordable to all strata of society. We look forward to participating in the discussions today and tomorrow for the first time, and we look forward to working together with our partners in the coalition to support internet freedom and protect human rights online. Norway has a long history of supporting people that seeks to connect. We will continue to do so, both in the analog and in the digital domain. I thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Ms. Ingrid Mollestad. Next speaker is Dr. Gustav Lind, Ambassador for Human Rights, Sweden, Minister of Foreign Affairs.
Mr. President, Mr. Foreign Minister, Excellencies, colleagues and friends. The Freedom Online Coalition has entered the 4th year since its inception in 2011. The institutions of the coalitions are becoming more solid. Its role as a platform for coordination and dialogue are expanding. We are now counting no less than 26 members. That is not bad for 4 years only. With the internet fast becoming a central part of world politics, the role of coalition becomes even more important. We must be able to act in defense of human rights and open internet in an ever more uncertain and changing world. Global trust in internet needs to be ensured and restored. And too much is at stake for us to be complacent. The central role of the internet in ensuring economic growth and development is well known. However, I think we should make true effort not to forget the underlying fundamental ideas of what the internet really is. The borderless connection between people and peoples, the free flow of ideas, the empowerment of individuals and the breaking down of hierarchies, a platform for innovation that can lift millions out of poverty. These days, these ideas is not always what we hear when we hear the discussions on internet. What we hear is more global cybercrime, state-sponsored cyber attacks, hybrid warfare, information operation, and terrorist use of the internet. These challenges call for further cooperation, goodwill, and creative thinking. As in the offline world, solutions to problems online must be found within the existing framework of international law, human rights, and rule of law. This is a fundamental basis on which trust and confidence on the internet must be built. International rule of law standards should also guide and limit national legislative initiatives. When more and more countries realize that their legislation needs to be updated to account for internet, we must help to clarify central rule of law concepts and provide guidance how they can put into practice on the internet. Sweden is thus proud to be chairing the coalition's working group that is specifically studying ways to further strengthen the rule of law principles and good practices in this field. An important part of this work and the broader human rights agenda concerns the issue of gender. For Sweden, this is a particularly important issue. The online gender gap needs to be bridged, just like the digital gap itself. The norms and behavior on the internet and the use of technology are being shaped today, but will impact all our lives tomorrow. Women's voices and interest in the online world must be strengthened. Representation must be increased and access to technology improved. Ladies and gentlemen, in the current global discussions taking place concerning the internet, there is much focus on the negative. The original ideas of the internet, do you remember the magic of the global borderless communication, a world made smaller through technology? These days represents a view of the internet that some consider naive. But let us remember that these ideas are what created internet in the first place. These are the ideas that changed the world. So let us continue to stress the fundamental promise that the internet holds for democracy, equality, development, and peace. The Freedom Online Coalition has a particularly important role in ensuring that the opportunities and not the threats the internet brings remain the baseline for the global conversation, how it will develop. And I want to thank the government of Mongolia for hosting this conversation these days here in beautiful Ulaanbaatar. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. Gustav Lind. Next speaker is Nicole Mannion, Deputy Director, Human Rights, Ireland Ministry of Foreign Affairs.
Mr. President, Foreign Minister, Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, I would like to start by thanking the Government of Mongolia for hosting the 5th Ministerial Conference of the Freedom Online Coalition and for making us all feel very welcome here in Ulaanbaatar. I would also like to take this opportunity to congratulate Lithuania, Australia and Norway on joining the coalition, and we very much look forward to working together to promote online freedom. We greatly welcome this conference, which provides a crucial opportunity for governments, private sector companies and civil society organisations to come together to promote respect for human rights online. We also welcome this year's theme of Internet Policy Making, Best Practices for Promoting Online Freedom. As a founding member of the coalition, Ireland has promoted the protection of freedom online as critical for the development of all societies and of civil society space. Freedom of expression is enshrined at the highest level in our national constitution, and we continually reflect on the optimum policies to promote this freedom, both online and offline, in Ireland. The advent of the internet and digital communication technologies has boosted freedom of expression, facilitated global debate, and fostered democratic participation. The internet has become an indispensable tool for all citizens to seek, receive and impart information. We acknowledge the right of states to defend and secure lives and the property of citizens, and recognise the challenge in finding a balance between this and the human rights that should be afforded to all. Ireland takes this opportunity to emphasise the importance of ensuring that any state surveillance is proportionate and fair, respects international law, including international human rights law, and is governed by rule of law with oversight by civil authorities. We must ensure transparency, fair process and accountability so that the rights that people enjoy offline are also safeguarded online. In this regard, we welcome the new mandate of the Human Rights Council on the right to privacy. This year's theme of internet policy making is also relevant in the context of the UN Guiding Principles on Business and Human Rights, which were endorsed by the Human Rights Council in 2011. The principles require states to reflect on how to ensure that human rights are respected by both states and business, and this includes in the virtual environment. As a base for many of the companies leading the expansion of the internet, we strongly support the role of business in advancing online freedom. Ireland is in the process of developing a national plan on business and human rights, and so we welcome this timely debate. Finally, in a year where freedom of expression, both online and offline, has come under attack, we see this conference as an opportunity for all of us to reaffirm our commitment to mutual tolerance, respect, and freedom of expression. We look forward to discussions over the coming days and to continuing to work together to ensure that the internet is a secure and accessible platform for all. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ms. Nicole Manian. Next speaker is Gita Chov Ngida, Deputy Director General, UNESCO.
Mr. President, Mr. Foreign Minister, Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, dear friends, Sambano. I guess most of you got it. Good morning. Thank you for the opportunity to speak on behalf of UNESCO at this conference on internet policy making. I wish to express my deep thanks to our hosts for their leadership and hospitality. I must say it is a special pleasure to be in this important building, home of the Mongolian government and parliament. This, I believe, reflects the deep commitment of this country and its society for democracy, human rights, and fundamental freedoms. Let me also congratulate the current chair of the Freedom Online Coalition for bringing this conference to Asia for the first time and for choosing a date so close to the World Press Freedom Day. As you know, World Press Freedom Day was celebrated across the world yesterday, including here in Mongolia, with a main event being held in Riga, co-hosted by UNESCO and Latvia, which currently leads the EU presidency. The paths of the Freedom Online Coalition and UNESCO have crossed several times this year. I have seen the rising visibility and role that the Freedom Online Coalition is taking in multilateral and multi-stakeholder consultations, including UNESCO has been present at your earlier annual conference, and we have invited you to ours. Let me highlight a recent intersection that may be of interest to everyone here. During the UNESCO General Conference in 2013, our 195 member states requested UNESCO Secretariat to undertake global multi-stakeholder consultation to inform a comprehensive study on internet-related issues with mandate of UNESCO. According to this resolution, the internet study covered 4 areas. First, access to knowledge and information. Second, freedom of expression. Third, privacy. And fourth, the ethics of information society. It also requested options for future actions. The study is required to inform UNESCO's reporting to member states later this year on the implementation of 6 action plan lines of the World Summit on Information Society outcomes, including media, access to information and knowledge, and Ethics of Information Society. The final version of the study will be online soon, and member states will consider this at the forthcoming General Conference in November. To develop the study, UNESCO led a year-and-a-half-long consultation process, tapping the wisdom of members of civil society, academia, the technical community, the private sector, and governments. In this respect, valuable consultations took place at the Freedom Online Coalition in Tallinn last year. The process culminated at the Connecting the Dots conference held at UNESCO this March, with 400 participants from all stakeholder groups from across the world reviewing the draft of the study. The participants also negotiated an outcome document that was adopted with overwhelming agreement. Just 10 days ago, the UNESCO Executive Board decided to recommend the outcome document and forward it to the United Nations General Assembly as part of the WSIS review process. The outcome document contains 38 options for action, which reflects inputs on the consultation and the debate during the conference, touching upon many areas that will be covered here in this conference. The outcome document builds on firm foundations. It affirms that, and I quote, "The same rights that people have offline must be protected online," unquote. And it proposed that UNESCO promote, and quote, "the alignment of internet-related laws, policies, and protocols with international human rights law," unquote. The outcome document also discusses sharing best practices between member states and other stakeholders in order to address security and privacy concerns on the internet, in accordance with international human rights obligations. It proposes support for efforts to protect personal data, which provides users with security, respect for their rights, and redress mechanisms in order to strengthen trust in the digital services. In addition, the outcome document suggests that UNESCO consider affirming the ongoing value of the WSIS outcome, including the Internet Governance Forum. Amongst other options, the outcome document refers to ICT policies that enhance access, guided by governance principles that ensure openness, transparency, and accountability, multilingualism, inclusiveness, gender equality, and civil participation. It also highlights the value of innovative approaches to facilitating citizens' involvement in the development and implementation of sustainable development goals. Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, dear friends, throughout all consultations, I wish to underline the positive contribution and role of the Freedom Online Coalition, for which I am deeply grateful. We were pleased to present several briefings to the online coalition at UNESCO during 3 formal coalition meetings on the Internet study this year. I am especially pleased that UNESCO received a substantive contribution in response to the 30 questions that guided the study. The contribution of the Freedom Online Coalition included support to UNESCO's concept of Internet universality. This rests on the notion that the Internet is first, respects human rights, and second, it is open, third, is accessible to all, and fourth, is governed through multi-stakeholder participation, expressed succinctly with the acronym ROAM. I believe this captures well UNESCO's approach to Internet issues, and I'm confident that they can serve as a point of reference for other Internet policy deliberations. I welcome also the support of the Freedom Online Coalition to the idea of UNESCO Internet indicators, which we can develop further together. All of this reflects our shared vision that discussions should be anchored within the framework of human and societal development on the basis of human rights and dignity. The Internet and all new information and communication must be at the heart of the post-2015 Sustainable Development Agenda as a transformational force and a foundation for building knowledge societies we need. In this spirit, I look forward to ever stronger cooperation between UNESCO and the Freedom Online Coalition. I thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Mr. Gudachov and Gida. The next speaker is Maria Lesner, Secretary General, Community of Democracies.
Your Excellency, President Elbek Deutsch, Your Excellency, Foreign Minister Purel Suren, ladies and gentlemen, friends of Internet freedom. The Internet has become the veins and blood of the world. It ties us together, it spurs development and creates new resources and jobs. It enlightens our brains and makes us wiser, sometimes dumber. It helps us connect more and deeper to old and new friends and family, sometimes even find our spouses. It shortens our trips from 80 days around the world to the click of the fingertip. It makes us aware of disasters and plights of fellow human beings near and far, and enables swift, strong collective responses. It helps us oversee our governments, engage in two-way communications, and make our voices heard. It educates us and provides access to information and culture like never before in the history of mankind. Internet has become indispensable for democracy. Internet has become indispensable for development. It is absolutely essential that the Internet remains free. Human rights must be respected online as well as offline, including the right to seek and receive and impart information. Internet should not be used to silence voices, harass or censor those who make use of their fundamental freedoms online. It must not be used for such surveillance of citizens that breaches the right to privacy and other human rights. And I note that the Freedom Online recommendations adopted in Tallinn last year express particular concern for global surveillance practices, as well as the increasing attempts to silence democratic voices online. These recommendations are vital for all countries aspiring to be democracies. The Community of Democracies is a global intergovernmental coalition of democratic countries established to safeguard and advance shared democratic values. Since the year 2000, when the Community of Democracies was founded and the 19 principles of the Warsaw Declaration were adopted, of which several are connected to the theme of Internet freedom, a couple of other intergovernmental initiatives have been established, such as the Open Government Partnership and the Freedom Online Coalition. All three coalitions have established norms and principles that our member states have promised to uphold, and are in the process of developing practical recommendations and benchmarks for particular policy areas with the aim to strengthen freedom and democratic governance. There is an overlap of membership in these coalitions. Countries engaged in the Freedom Online Coalition and the Open Government Partnership are also among those invited to participate in the Community of Democracies ministerial meetings, next time in San Salvador on July 24th, and who are engaged in our Governing Council. This is a vitally important development. There is an ongoing race between the democratic community and the non-democratic community. In order to preserve the current power elite's grip on power, many non-democratic countries are cooperating more and more efficiently and coordinated in spite of bottomless differences between themselves of ideology, religion, or history. These governments are glued together simply because they have a common interest in defeating all that represents a potential risk that they would have to leave the sweet position of unlimited power, namely open elections and opposition, peaceful manifestations and independent civil society, particularly human rights defenders, freedom of media and free internet, access to information, transparency, and citizens' oversight. The global intergovernmental and multi-stakeholder initiatives that the Freedom Online Coalition is a wonderful example of are knitting together the global democratic community, helping us to stand firm in the ongoing struggle for human rights and fundamental freedoms. The growing importance and political and practical success of the Freedom Online Coalition therefore represents a very important step to confront these forces that are endangering not only human development, but also global security. I wish to congratulate Mongolia for its forceful and energetic leadership of the Freedom Online Coalition and for organising this important 5th meeting of the coalition. Mongolia has come forward as an indispensable global leader for democratic development, a position that has been consistent through the years and decades since its transition to democracy. The Community of Democracies enjoyed the leadership of Mongolia and a very successful 7th ministerial meeting of the community here in Ulaanbaatar only 2 years ago. And 10 years prior to that, Mongolia led the International Coalition Conference on New and Restored Democracies. Your energy and vital leadership for democracy and fundamental freedoms is of great value globally, and President El-Baghdadi's speech was proof of that profound engagement. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much for wonderful speech for Maria Lessner, Secretary General, Community of Democracies. I was asked to have a, okay, all right. Mr. Andrew Budafat, FOC Support Union, welcome.
Thanks. I'm really here to do a bit of organisational rearrangement because we've overrun by 35 minutes in the opening session, which is probably predictable. So what we're going to do is, instead of having the half-hour session on the working groups, we're going to move that to the end of the day at 5:30, so we can move straight to the substantive plenary discussion that was scheduled for this morning. A couple of announcements. Many of the working groups are going to be in side rooms, and the side rooms are upstairs. You go up the flight of stairs, and they're simply round in a circle, 1, 2, 3, 4. So if you're looking for those side rooms, that's where they are. And there's a slight change to the programme this afternoon. The Good Policy and Practices in Online Freedom, which is scheduled for side room 3 at 4:15, will be in side room 3, but at 4 o'clock, 1600. And the Rule of Law and Internet, Practical Steps to Promote Human Rights, will move from 1600 to 1415. So those two workshops will essentially change places. Apart from that, I think the programme is as given. So if I could invite the speakers to the opening plenary onto the stage now, we can, the first substantive plenary, we can then hopefully finish just 5 or 10 minutes after lunch and not detain you too long. Thank you very much.
May I ask President El-Baghdadi for concluding remark, please? Thank you.
Okay, yeah, bear with me. I know your jet lag and terrible jet lag you have. Thank you very much for those heartwarming words on the address of our people and of my government. And we are truly blessed that by your participation in this conference, and we really feel that we are not alone here. And second one I would like to say, why Mongolia? People if ask, why Mongolia? Why you are holding the Freedom Online Conference in Mongolia? Why Mongolia is chairman? I would like to say because this is the birthplace for any type of express messenger system that was born in 800 years ago in a plain of Mongolian Empire. You know, that was the first internet. Every 30 kilometers there was post and horsemen carrying the decree of the king or great messages from the king at the fastest speed of horse, traveling 30 kilometers and changing fresh horse and fresh men carrying that letter, that message to the destination. That reached just within 1 week, Beijing. Within 1 month, Europe, all the way Persia, fastest corner of the Asia. And because of that, in this birthplace, we are discussing this online freedom issue. This is really important. And the other thing I would like to say that if there is internet companies, if there is software companies, if Facebook or Twitter, Google, LinkedIn, and others want to have a storage system in Asia, I think Mongolia can be that place. We will offer our land, and we will offer a Swiss banking-like security system for your storage, for your facilities in this country. I think you are you are feeling that Mongolia is really one of the freedom online country. If you have problem even in your countries, enjoy that freedom in Mongolia. If you find some problem, means we have to discuss some issues. And this is really great place. And also I would like to say that our private sector, private sector who are working in information communication technology system, there are many representatives here. Please have your connection. Please get your partner in this country. You know, Mongolian economy is overwhelmingly obsessed with the mining. After 20 years, I would like to see my country, you know, number one economy, number one economic wealth in Mongolia, program developing, you know, software developing. I would like to see that. And we have that capacity. We have those people, energetic and knowledgeable and young generation in this country. And because of our location, we are the hub of this within two big nations. There are great market, and we can be really, truly great partner for you and for your business. If Online Freedom Coalition consider further to have secretariat permanent places, Ulaanbaatar can host that. We offer our welcome to have that office in my city, in our capital city. I think within the 4 years, 26 members, it's really fast advancing coalition in terms of the numbers. If that pace we keep after 28 years, every 4 years, 26 members, after 28 years, whole members of the United Nations gonna be members of this coalition. And I truly want to see that. And because of that, because of your great participation and the heartwarming words, and I'm truly blessed. And at the end, I would like to recall one saying from Genghis Khan. He said, "It was easy to conquer the world on the horseback. But what was challenging is to dismount and try to govern." If Genghis Khan was here, he may say that. It was easy to establish Freedom Online Coalition, but it is tough governing with the Freedom Online, but it is worth to do. Enjoy your stay. Thank you very much.